Hello friends, welcome back to Moon Magic Spirit. My name is Meg and today we're talking all about eclipse seasons and why you shouldn't be manifesting during them. In today's video, I'm going to cover the basis of eclipses, where to look in your chart to see what it highlights, when it's happening, and most importantly, in my opinion, why we don't want to manifest during eclipse season. I think we're all familiar with what lunar eclipses are, so to rewind it back a little bit to some astrology lessons, we have lunar eclipses and solar eclipses. An eclipse occurs when the moon is in line with Earth, right? Because like the moon is just circling around Earth and it's always at different angles, but during an eclipse, it's aligned up with the Earth. So a lunar eclipse is when the sun over here, our sunlight energy, we have the Earth and we have the moon. The lunar eclipse is when the moon is aligned with the Earth behind the sun. So the moon is in complete shadow and the sun is completely illuminating the Earth. There's no blockages from the moon at all. However, during a solar eclipse, that is where the moon is in between the sun and the Earth, casting a shadow on Earth. We also have eclipses that occur between 3 to 7 times a year. Right now we are in eclipse season, meaning we have 2 eclipses back to back. We have a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. On May 26th we have a solar eclipse, and then on June 10th we have a lunar eclipse. So from now until the full moon at the end of June, which I believe is on June 26th, you don't want to manifest. So we need to take this as a pause, as a timeout for manifesting. We're going to use it to regroup, and I'll get more into that in just a minute. When it comes to eclipses, it's about repeating patterns. So you can go back a year or two to see what was happening in your life during past eclipses. Maybe what are some lessons that you learned? What are some things that changed in your life? Eclipses have a way of speeding up the inevitable. So you can look back to last June. At the beginning of June is when there was an eclipse. What was going on in your life? What were some things that were happening? You can also look back at the end of November and mid of December of 2020 and take a look back to what was happening then as well. So what patterns were there? Were there patterns that we need to break? Did we make new habits? Did we end something? Did something new begin? So just reflect back on your life, and it can give you some insight onto what to expect for this eclipse season. Another thing to keep in mind is that anything that happens in eclipse season is meant to happen in eclipse season. So if you're somebody that has been thinking about whether or not they want to leave their job or like start a new career, or maybe get out of a relationship or start a new relationship, you may see all of that snowball really quickly in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Because as they say, anything that happens during eclipse season was bound to happen eventually. It just decided right here, right now, because why not? Speaking of destiny, a lot of astrologers like to look at birth charts as like your destiny footprint or a blueprint for your life. It highlights the areas where you can thrive and excel and areas where you may have some struggles. So when you're looking at eclipse season, you really want to look at your birth chart, get off CoStar and use Time Passages or Astro Cafe to get a look at your birth chart and see where your north and south node reside and what's happening there and how that's going to relate to eclipse season. So when it comes to the north and south node, the north node is more like what your destiny is, like what's in your future, like what is something that is going to highlight and dazzle for you. And the south node is going to show like your past or like some areas in life that you may have a hard time with, or some lessons that you're gonna have to go through and learn. I always heard if you're feeling stuck on what your purpose in life is or like what you want to do for fulfillment, to take a look at your north node and really digest that, and you'll get a lot of helpful answers, and you may even find things that make a whole lot of sense. This set of eclipses that are happening in May and June are going to highlight Gemini and Sagittarius. So another thing that you can do is look at your birth chart and see where that is highlighted in your birth chart. Do you have any planets in Gemini or Sagittarius? Or what houses are ruled by Gemini and Sagittarius in your birth chart? So now that we have the meat and potatoes of eclipses down, let's get into what I want to talk about. Why we shouldn't be manifesting during eclipse season. Eclipses are unpredictable, they're chaotic, they just have a lot of that very chaotic, unpredictable energy tied to them. So it's like, do you really want to set an intention to unpredictable and chaotic energy? I'll insert a meme from Eliza Kelly that she posted on her Instagram account. It was really funny, and I think it's a pretty cut and dry example of what could happen if you try to manifest during eclipse season. So if you're somebody like me who has really been laying down the groundwork and manifesting a lot over the last couple of weeks, now eclipse season gives us an opportunity to just like pause and take a breath, because if you're like me, you've just been keeping your head down, burying yourself in work, really working on your manifestation. And now's the time to kind of like be like, okay, let's pause and take a step back and like reassess everything. So let's take a look at what my original list of goals and accomplishments were, and what I was wanting to manifest in the physical world and manifest on the astral plane. Like, what have I been doing? What haven't I been doing? What worked? What didn't work? Are there any adjustments that I need to make? Like, what are my next steps? So eclipse season gives us a little bit of a breathing moment to take back and look at what we actually have and reassess for when we can manifest again at the end of June in the full moon, of what our new priorities are. So for example, for me, I've been really working on this business, which is MoonMagickSpirit. I created it, I launched it. I am so proud of everything that I have accomplished and the success that I've had. I can't believe how far I've gone in certain aspects of this when it comes to my tarot reading business, which is been a really main focus. And as you can see on this channel, tarot has also been a pretty big focus as well, and on my Instagram and TikTok too. But there's so many other things with MoonMagickSpirit that I've been working on behind the scenes. So now I can kind of look at I'm like kind of aware of some of the areas that I've been neglecting a little bit. So now I can restructure that into a new manifestation plan and a new goal-oriented plan, and work on adjusting that and making that more of a priority once we are safe to start manifesting again in the end of June. So I've also heard astrologers talking about the draconic cycle and the typical lunar cycle. So the draconic cycle is linked to an 18-year cycle versus the typical 28-day sun and moon illumination cycle that we're used to having. So it's not even on the same cycle or scale really, so that's another reason why you don't want to attach your attention to it. Up here on the screen, I'm also going to post a screenshot from Elisa's Instagram. I know I'm always referencing her, but she always has such great information, and I've learned so much from her. But she shared a post of things that we can be doing instead of manifesting. So like, it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, we have to completely stop working and like stop doing everything and like come to a complete halt. No, there's so many other things that we can be doing in the meantime. Some of those include journaling, reflecting, which is what I mentioned, meditating, pampering, sleeping, donating, breathing, exercising, swimming, sunbathing, stargazing, volunteering, studying, exploring, cooking, painting, learning, speaking, and listening. So it's all about taking time to rest and make sure that we're well rested, doing things for us that is self-care, and also giving back and just creating and keeping up with that abundance and that flow of abundance. So let me know in the comments down below, what are some of those practices that you're going to be partaking in during eclipse season. Solar eclipses also mark the beginning of a new cycle and new beginnings, new changes, and it can also be a time that is creating new opportunities for us. So something negative like losing a job or ending a relationship may seem like the loss of something and like the end of something, but it's really the beginning of a new adventure. So if you're someone that's feeling a little bit nervous and a little bit unsure about eclipse season, just let your intuition speak to us. This is kind of like where we're taking a back seat, right? Because when it comes to manifesting and like working on our goals and doing all these things, it's like we're really in the driver's seat. We're in the ones that are in control, making sure that we're checking all the items off of our checklist. But now is a chance for us to just kind of like step back and just see what feels. Like what feels right, what doesn't feel right. Listen to your intuition. If you've been thinking about doing something or thinking about making a big change, listen to your intuition. This might be the perfect time to do it. You might not also have a chance. It might just kind of fall into your lap the way that it's meant to. And when I say like it could be a good thing for you to be ending a job, maybe you're working in a toxic job environment, you're not getting what you deserve. And that's like another thing that eclipse season really highlights to us, is just bringing in that flow of abundance and just like bringing to us what we deserve and what energy we should be focusing on. So again, when we think about donating and volunteering and just doing things to helping others, that is also tying into the flow of abundance. So much is all about that karmatic energy. So during a lunar eclipse, that's where things are more brought to light. And it just makes sense, right? Like the lunar eclipse, that is when the sun is behind the earth. So the sun is completely shining through, like there are no shadows. So things that are negative in your life or things that need to be exposed or people that need to be exposed or toxic behaviors are going to be exposed. There's like nowhere to run and hide, right? It's just like the full moon energy. Like there's no shadows. Everything is being brought to light. Whereas during a new moon, it's easier for things to go undetected. I really hope that this video provided like some guidance and some help if you weren't familiar with eclipses or wasn't really sure what to expect, or maybe you see people posting about eclipse season. But I just really wanted to cover that and just like the importance of not manifesting during like this 11-day period, especially. So just take the next month off to just, again, let things expose themselves, but also just sit back and reflect and like, you know, maybe the goals that you were manifesting the last couple of weeks, you decide it's not really for you. So you have the time now to actually reflect on what's serving you, what isn't serving you, and then you can come up with a great new plan for the end of June to carry on through summer. That is going to wrap it up for my eclipse video. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And also, if you have Gemini and Sagittarius in your north or south node, you could be going through your node return, which is also fun and a whole other thing. So let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Feel free to check out my other videos. Check out the Koji link in the description bar. It's basically a better version of Linktree, and that's where you can connect with me. And if you're interested in more tarot stuff, there's definitely more to find down there too. And lastly, as always, don't forget to subscribe if you aren't yet already. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this kind of video. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.